Hey, my friends, Gary here with another February market report. And what is going on in the market? Are we seeing multiple offers? Yes. Are we seeing properties listed and stay in the market? Yes. There's a lot of this going on, some of this right now, which means we need to get aligned with buyers and sellers and realtors and mortgage brokers and the Bank of Canada. Those are all things that we're going to talk about right after the intro. All right, my friends. Well, before I share the screen, we've had lots of people reach out to me. There's the dancing Gare right over here. Yeah, that's him. And thank you for everyone that's reached out to me about what's going on in the market and understanding all the things that are going on. There's some confusion right now. So reach out to me. If you have your mortgage coming up for renewal, reach out to me, because obviously interest rates are different from when you got your mortgage the last time. And I'll certainly point you in the right direction for a mortgage broker. And there's a lot of things that are perhaps being said in the media and Twitter and everywhere else. And we'll kind of digest some of that today a little bit. But what I really wanted to talk about was the February market report. You know, all the numbers are coming out from TREB today, this February versus last year. And that's not fair. We can't do that, can we? The numbers from last January and February, if you recall, of 2022 was really the peak of our market. And then we started coming down ever so slightly, or hard, depending on how you look at it. Last February was just an outstanding month. So the numbers are obviously going to look a little bit different, but hey, we're going to go through them anyways. And the most important piece here is you understand and how to digest the information. And of course, don't look at it from a big, broad approach. We don't go buy Toronto real estate. We buy, Newmarket, East End real estate. We go buy Scarborough, North End real estate, fine tune, get really small on that area that you're looking at. So without further ado, let's share the screen. Yep, there we go. This is the McGowan report, which you can always download in the show notes below. And quick review. Yeah. So new listings, you're going to see it. First column here. This is the quick high level view of what we're looking at. 10,000 listings, new listings this year versus last year of 16,000. You're going to see all these numbers down 36%. But look at the average asking price is about the same. However, where we're going to start to see some differences is below that. So underneath that, let's go through this in a little bit more detail. So if you wanted the quick snapshot, there you go. Don't watch any more of the video, but let's watch more of the video, right? Okay, next page. New listings. So the new listings, this is going to be for the month. And then we're going to look at year to date a little bit. And we just talked about 16,000 for the month of February. Of course, that's down from the previous year. We had 16,000 here. You can see that right here. And what's happening? Well, we're having people kind of sit on the sidelines a little bit. I'm not sure if they want to list their house at this present time. Of course, the mortgage and the interest rates have something to do with that. So there's a little uncertainty, but I can tell you there are still a lot of people that are willing to sell if they knew they had a buyer. And we're seeing a real balanced market at this moment in time in the GTA area. New listings year to date, well, we're at 20,000, and last year we're at 26,000. So down ever so slightly from that perspective. But I really want to keep looking at the month of February. So our average price for the month is 1.3, and it's basically the same of where it was last year. That's the asking price, not the sold price, but the asking price, which obviously we got to keep that into account, right? And as we scroll farther down, this is year to date, same numbers year to date here. So you can see that 1.3 for the asking price. But what we really want to start to see and dive deeper on is the sold properties. So we're down 50% sold property, less sold properties than we had this year versus last year. You can see that right up in here. I don't know what that marking that was. I meant to do something like this. There you go. So that's the difference. So down 16% from the previous year. But if you look, back in 2020, we're still down from that month too. So February 2020, and there you have it. And I'm going to look to see there. So we're still down about 3,000 properties, sold properties, even back then. So there's some interesting numbers for you. Okay, year to date. So we're just shy of 9,000 properties year to date. And of course, that's going to be a huge difference versus last year. Absolutely huge difference. And you can see that dating back here, how the properties kind of sell over the last few years. Average sale price. Now I know this is what you've been looking for. Last year we were at 1.3, and this year we're at 109. So we're certainly seeing that number come down a bit. And if you recall, the average list price was 1.3. However, Gary, you mentioned off the top, we're seeing multiple offers on some properties. Yes, we are. And that's based on, is that property priced well? Is it a great location? Do people want it? And most likely, is it an entry level home? That's where we're seeing some activity on the entry level pricing. So your towns, maybe your small detached homes, and certainly some of the condos, not in the city core of Toronto, but outside those areas. That's where we're starting to see some multiple offers. So if you've got a townhouse or a entry level home, you might be thinking this could be a good time to sell because of the activity and the lack of inventory in that price range. Remember, when we always go look at listing a house, we want to know what our competition is. So perhaps the competition is not as strong in that price range. And you can see over the last several months what that number has been doing. And if you look here, we're kind of in line with, February of this year. We're kind of in line with what's going on over the last several months. So that number has really kind of hovered and stayed flat. And people said, have we hit the bottom? What's going on? Well, I think this is the bottom in a sense. We'll see next week. They're talking about another mortgage announcement or interest rate announcement, I should say. I think they're going to hold pat here, and you can see what these numbers are doing. We'll talk about more in the coming weeks about what's happening with as the interest rates have gotten so high, and that trigger point on some of the variable mortgages, what's happening with that, which means the mortgage payment that you're making on a variable rate mortgage might not be covering your actual interest payment. So what we're seeing is people increasing their payments there. Some people don't have that capacity, so perhaps we're going to see some forced sales, meaning not the bank forcing you to sell in a sense, or to sell in a sense, but what it means is that homeowner making the right financial decision to list and sell their house. Well, obviously, we're going to see a little bit of a movement and push from some lenders, and we're already seeing that lenders forcing, meaning not a foreclosure. We don't typically do foreclosures in the Toronto or in the Ontario, in the province of Ontario, but what we do see is power of sale. Power of sale is much different than a foreclosure. Power of sale, you as the lender have to prove through the courts, should it ever go through the courts, that you did everything you possibly could to sell at fair market value. So that's a big difference between foreclosure. Okay, let's move on here. We're almost done. Scrolling down, year-to-date average price at 106. So you remember we were at 109, so down ever so slightly on the year-to-date numbers. And you can see we've been kind of holding pat there. Of course, we were down a little bit in the month of December and January. Well, that makes sense from a typical Christmas season, winter season, but we have certainly been holding strong over the last little while here. Good stuff. Okay, days on market. This is for the month, and if you've been following along, I said that this is going to creep up and creep up. On average, we are right now at 24 days on market. I suspect if we kind of pull out the towns and the condos and the entry level segment, we're probably closer to 35 days on market. Thereabouts, probably 30 to 35 is what I should say. And so I think that's interesting. The year to date is at 27. So it took a little bit longer to sell your house in January than it did February. That's what this tells me. And there you have it. We're going to see the days on market increase. I do believe over the next several weeks now. What do we got coming? We got March break. We're already March, so we've got March break coming up in 2 weeks. And then what happens, and here's the interesting thing, What happens after March break in a typical real estate cycle, and there's still a typical real estate cycle to some extent, meaning the seasonality of real estate. People come home after March break and then they start to clean up their house and get it ready to be listed in that mid-April. So look for things to kind of come. Maybe we're looking for new listings, or you are on the market and meaning you're looking for a home, but nothing's quite come up. Typically that third week of March, things start to just move a little bit faster, which is typical of that real estate cycle. Okay, almost done here. Average ask to sell ratio. Well, we're at about basically 1%, 100% of ask price. So you can see what what those numbers are doing. So you list your house for $1 million bucks, you should be able to sell your house for about $1 million bucks, and that's typical of what we've been seeing over the last several months. And year to date, that number is about the same. So there you have it. What am I seeing? I'm sharing this with you and I'm not putting it on screen. There we have it. How's that? So there's your month. We are at 100% for the month of February and 99.6% for year to date. That's better. Okay. So, if you're following the Twitter world, be careful what you read. Yes, there's some stories out there of homeowners purchasing brand new homes, perhaps, 12 to 24 months ago, and they're coming up to close on those brand new homes. And of course, the valuation is so different that the banks are not appraising the homes at that value that you purchased at, which means you cannot close, or you have to come up with extra cash and you can't do it. Perhaps the sale of your home is not at the value that you need it to be. So we're seeing people having to let go of brand new home purchases and forfeiting their deposit. We're seeing all sorts of things like that in the Twitter world. So just because it happens once or twice, don't think it's happening thousands and thousands and thousands of times over, but don't be naive to say it's not happening. So things like that are happening. Be aware of it and educate yourself. Reach out to your trusted individuals, whether that's me or the next person, that's okay. But reach out and start to ask questions. All right, there's your monthly report. Interesting stuff. We'll see, and we'll keep a close eye on what's happening over with the Bank of Canada and the interest rate announcements, and what's happening with the interest rates, and of course, what banks are deciding to do with those mortgages that are up for renewals, and homeowners can't afford perhaps that new interest rate. Will banks allow them to extend or re-amortize back up to the original amortization period? We've talked about that in the past, and that might be one thing that the banks can do, because banks really, what they want to do, they don't want to give up that asset, which the asset, yes, is the home or the property, but the asset is a great paying client. You, the borrower, they don't want to give that up. So I feel the banks are going to get creative on what they can do. That's it for now. Reach out to me. Of course, we've been posting lots of podcasts. My business partner and I, go watch those podcasts, the Not So Black and White Real Estate podcast. We'll see everybody on the next episode. Bye for now.